Here's the next time. Next, Anne is going to read from chapter 20, a little bit more of the long-running story about Cleve Jones and Gilbert Baker. This chapter is called Clash of the Divas.
Yeah, it's going to sound like it's a direct follow to that, but it's actually 9 chapters later. It's now 1994, and everybody's in New York for Stonewall 25, and Gilbert is making the mile-long rainbow flag that you saw in the video that went up First Avenue, and Cleve claims it was his idea, and he took it to the Statlander's pharmacy people to get it financed. All these characters show up in this portion, which I've edited a little so I can get most of it in. So they're in the middle of a fight because Gilbert is making the flag, and Cleve's job is supposed to be getting thousands of volunteers to carry it. And Cleve is falling down on the job, and Gilbert is angry at him. So they're having a big fight in the middle of the workroom where the flag is being made. Scene. Cleve grabbed a pair of scissors and headed toward the flag. Fuck you and this shit. Don't you dare, I shouted. He kicked the fabric violently, his fingers still knotted around the shears. Get out of here, you're fired, fucker, Cleve shouted. He threw the scissors across the room and they broke in two. I'm fired for what? Doing my job? Insubordination? Fuck you, you're fired. No, you're fired. You work for me. Cleve stomped his feet for emphasis. This is my project. Get out. I'm not your art slave. You're fired, he screamed again as loud as he could. No, you're fired, I said, matching him decibel for decibel. You're fired. You're fired. The door opened and the sweet red-headed pharmacy rep came running in. Oh my God, she said, almost in tears. Go away, this is personal, I told her. You guys work this out, okay, she pleaded. He's fired, Cleve insisted. Tell everyone he's fucking fired. The rep gasped and disappeared. You're the one who's fired, I countered. You insult the movement with these antics. Go home, I don't need you. Fuck you, I'll destroy you. You're fired. Cleve was even more enraged now that the pharmacy rep had witnessed his tantrum. You're fired, he thundered. You're fired, I thundered back. When the pharmacy rep returned, she looked at the workshop in shambles. There's your flag, I told her. I walked out before she could say a word. At number 9 Bleecker, Alice opened the beers he'd bought, and I spilled out the whole story of our fight. I wondered if Statlanders would fire me. She commiserated, but she also had news. Is this on? Mm-hmm. You'll probably die when I tell you this. There's a story in tomorrow morning's paper about the city in Stonewall 25. You're fucked. God, don't tell me. Oh yes, the whole thing is going down FDR Drive to the Battery. It's official. No Central Park, no flag on Fifth Avenue. The city's sending 1 million people to walk on a covered freeway. Shit. And the Stonewall 25 people? Watch and see. The city can make them do anything now. Stonewall won't sue, so they won't win. Great, I huffed. Not only am I fired, the flag doesn't happen. Fuck the city and this pathetic excuse for organizers, Alice fumed. You know, just do it. What are they going to do? Stop hundreds of thousands of people from going up Fifth? I tried to imagine that as Alice continued. The whole point of the parade in New York is that it goes by the cathedral. The gay community fought for years to be there. But now here comes the new mayor, Giuliani. And it's the first thing he takes away. I called the offices of Stonewall 25. Franklin Fry said they would fight the city on the new route but wouldn't go to court. Fools. He assured me that a deal was being worked out behind the scenes. A possible compromise was that the mayor's office might give us First Avenue, going past the UN to the Great Lawn in Central Park. But what about Fifth Avenue, I asked. As I hung up, a tingling vibration covered my skin and I felt my face sag. Alice swigged the last of her beer. It ain't over yet, she said. Some people are talking about an alternative march.
Next, we're going to hear from Charles from chapter 11. It's a chapter called Working for the Enemy, but it's I'll just let Charles read.
All right. Cleve Jones had a knack for fixating on the impossible, then demanding the same from everyone. But he wasn't an artist. He could hardly work a staple gun, let alone make any of the props needed for his protest. So he would assemble a team to transform his ideas into visual spectacles. For his latest scheme, there wasn't a name at first. He wanted to transform the federal building poster board tombstones into fabric pieces because they could be so much larger, approaching the scale of the works of Christo, who had wrapped whole islands in fabric. Washington, D.C. was Cleve's targeted destination for this happening. We were in Dennis Peron's kitchen on 17th Street. Cleve was cooking a big spaghetti dinner. I was sitting at the table, yellow legal pad and big pen in hand. I was sketching out ways to make Cleve's concept physical. How much would it weigh? How many people would it take to put it together? Would the panels be on poles or lie on the ground like graves? I thought about legalities. What if we didn't get a permit and had to do it covertly? How long would it take to finish the task before we got arrested? Whenever I got bogged down in details, Cleve's fingers were popping in my face. Forget about that. We'll figure it out later. We were in my sewing room in my new apartment when Cleve demanded that I make a panel right then for a political meeting at 7:30. He held up a sheet he just spray painted with Marvin Feldman's name, and it was hideous. Like I said, Cleve wasn't an artist. So, for Bobby Campbell's panel, I hot glued his name in purple glitz on a 3x4 piece of day-glow hot pink bridal satin. Cleve still wasn't satisfied. Couldn't I sew it, make it more gorgeous? Well, I shot back, do you want it now or do you want it good? I could tell that Cleve was onto something with these panels. I also knew because he took every opportunity to inform me that this would be his pièce de résistance, his rainbow flag, but bigger, better. Just move over, bitch. Cleve teased me. Your Betsy Ross thing is tired. So I was now part of another Cleve project, and working with Cleve became, as always, working for Cleve. It meant a kind of love-hate relationship. Cleve turned to others as well, mining their creativity. In the end, all of us, even I, became willing co-conspirators in this latest scheme, which would ultimately be known around the world as the Names Project AIDS Memorial Quilt. One evening, Cleve and I were at Dennis Peron's house, planning yet another event connected to the Names Project. Planning led to a disagreement, and then a disagreement led to a spat between two men with very large egos. Cleve knew my weakest spots. He could control the situation by making nasty comments, mercilessly pushing my buttons. Suddenly I stood up, leaned over the kitchen table, and slapped Cleve across the face. He cursed me out and left. We didn't speak for 2 years.
Yes, a lot of folks, say my age and younger, don't really equate the two, but the Stonewall generation, the generation that came of age around the time of the Stonewall uprising, was also the Vietnam generation. Gilbert was drafted in 1970, and this is a little bit about the tail end of his time in basic training. "Baker, where is your weapon?" the officer asked. "I didn't pick it up this morning." "Did you forget your weapon, Gomer?" the captain said, referring to a dim-witted TV character in the Marines. "I will not carry a weapon," I announced with nervous resolve. "I want to file for discharge as a conscientious objector." My words blew up with the force of a bomb. "Get down on the ground," the captain screamed. "I don't want to see your face. You make me puke." I fell into the dust. "Everyone will do push-ups until you go back and get your weapon." I could hear the groans of several thousand men. The officer of the day, his hand on the pistol in his holster, approached me. We could kill you on the spot," he told me. "We would have every right to shoot you as a deserter. Nobody would think twice about a dead queer. What do you think about that, Baker?" I think that would be murder, I said in a hoarse whisper. He was scaring me. Instead of execution, I was driven back to the barracks by military police. I was told to speak to no one until the officer of the day came for me. They posted a guard at the door of my bunk. 2 hours later, a staff sergeant walked in. He carried a manila envelope. It was full of forms that I would have to fill out to begin the process of being discharged as a conscientious objector. Get these back to me first thing in the morning, he said, tossing the pile of paperwork on my bunk. I was given permission to make phone calls. My parents were outraged and made it clear that they would never support my decision. Conscientious objectors were all cowards and deserters. I would be the shame of the entire family. A maelstrom of emotion had me in its grip when I walked into the staff sergeant's office with a sheaf of incomplete forms. I knew my bid for discharge would be denied. Well, Baker, it seems to me you've got a problem, he said as he glanced through the paperwork, but maybe we can work something out. I was astonished. It was the first time anyone had addressed me with the slightest tinge of humanity since my induction. You say here you don't want to carry a weapon for moral reasons, he said, pondering a moment before he added, why don't you put in for medic? Under the Geneva Convention, medics do not have to carry guns. I can fix it and all this trouble will be out of my hair. You'll get out of here alive and you can have an honorable discharge. Otherwise, your case is going nowhere and you'll be kept here in basic training until they decide what to do with you. I knew the part about the Geneva Conventions was bullshit, but I accepted. Word went out that I was being assigned to the Medic Corps. As I spent my last weeks in basic training, I was hounded with tales of a gruesome ending for any medic in Vietnam. In addition, I was terrified to the last moment that they would call off the deal before I got on a plane to San Antonio. Army personnel, as medics were now referred to, were required to receive job training. San Antonio was the site of Brooks Army Medical Center and the medic training program. Instead of shooting M16s, my colleagues and I spent our days in classrooms. I excelled on most of the endless tests. At the end of the instruction, I was offered a chance to become a nurse. All I had to do was serve out a 2-year enlistment. I accepted. Instead of Vietnam, I would be sent to San Francisco.
What happened is, Dustin Lanswack took his award-winning movie Milk and he brought it to Moscow. And Gilbert found out about it and they had a long friendship. And so this is Dustin's word. To be clear, I'm not here to claim that there exists some sort of a gay god up there in a lofty rainbow-striped heaven. But if there was such a god, she had Gilbert Baker in first position on her speed dial. And he spoke with her frequently. And so my conversations with Gilbert often felt like a three-way call with Gilbert and his heavenly gay goddess. More often, their visions came slowly or in pieces. And some sounded more like poetry than a plan. But on occasion, an idea would emerge fully formed, aggressive, undeniable, and always dazzling. Gilbert's voice lit up in a way that I'd come to love. I settled on the floor, listening to him ramble out his latest design. He felt strongly that it needed to be with these Russians in some form, and so despite his recent health struggles, he had woken up each morning over the past 2 weeks to turn on his sewing machine and construct a 20-meter-long rainbow banner with the words, "Support Russian Gays," spelled out across it in bold black letters. Now he was demanding that I bring this rainbow banner to the LGBTQ people in Russia as a show of unity and defiance. I gave voice to what Gilbert surely already knew, that a 20-meter-long rainbow flag most certainly qualified as gay propaganda. For me to smuggle in something like that would be seen as a trespass, if not a crime. But Gilbert insisted. They need to know we're with them. This banner will help do that. Wait until you see it. It's fabulous. They need this. We need this. And honey, you have no choice in the matter. Only a madman might have convinced me to willfully put myself to such peril, but as it turned out, Gilbert was my favorite kind of crazy. When I finally unfurled Gilbert's rainbow creation, it proved long enough to wrap around the room and around all of us, Americans and Russians alike. As Gilbert had promised, we did feel like one family in that moment, and these LGBTQ Russians were visibly emboldened by Gilbert's offering. For years to come, I saw photos of that banner being marched down Russian streets, held aloft by lines of brave freedom fighters being greeted by fists, tasers, clubs, and worse, but knowing full well that they were not alone in their struggle. Nearly 40 years after its creation, Gilbert and his flag had once again proven their power and worth.
I heard you're leaving the country, Cleve said, even before saying hello. I'm done here, I said, making it up. London, I think. Don't go, he said, sounding sincere and friendly. You should stay and fight. The fight is over in the US, I said coolly. There's more important stuff elsewhere. London, he sneered. It's the same. You should stay. We need you. Cleve paused. Well, I need you. And I miss you. He waited a moment. We should be friends. Balancing the weight of his words and my emotions, I warbled, and I miss you too, Cleve. You never called. There was Cleve's pettiness again. But his tone was measured. I called. A beat of silence filled the void between us. We both lit up cigarettes. You know, we need to get over this thing between us, Cleve said, getting right to the point. I think we should get together and talk about it. I was speechless. Cleve never talked like this. It was making me nervous. I wanted to agree to a meeting just to humor him and then hang up. No, I mean it, Cleve said. I have some things to say to you and you have things to say to me. You should come over and visit me. We can work it out. He paused again. I really love you. It was a miracle. As I bit my lip, a few precious cleansing teardrops fell from my eyes. I accepted his invitation. I took a Greyhound from Los Angeles to Palm Springs, where Cleve had relocated in 1994. Living on the Russian River had almost killed him. Quoting Ella Fitzgerald, Cleve liked to sing, "Hate California, it's cold and it's damp." So he moved south, somehow combining his meager salary from the Names Project AIDS memorial quilt and the money he got from his memoir, Stitching a Revolution, into a down payment on a small house. I remembered how years ago at the dinner table, Cleve had described the ideal home, and I had drawn his fantasy. We were amateur architects then, dreaming on graph paper. Cleve picked me up at the little bus stop in the same car he always had, a tiny blue Honda two-door, now covered in desert dust. I laughed and sang it, amused how everyone thought we were both so rich and famous from our activism. For someone with AIDS, he looked healthy and tan. You old queen, he teased when we embraced. Old as fuck, I agreed, kissing him on both cheeks. You're still handsome. You're such a liar, and you always wear a Blanche. For a moment, I felt like we were back to our Betty Davis and Joan Crawford rivalry. But it was just camp. Cleve put my bag in the trunk and turned to me. I'm really glad you came. Cleve said he would make dinner, so we stopped at the grocery store for salmon and white wine. I went for small talk, mentioning that I had heard Cleve had installed a pool. He gushed about it. I blew all the money from the book on it. Wait till you see it. Natural Arizona sandstone everywhere in the jacuzzi. We pulled into the driveway of his 50s white tract house with a tall hedge and a low brick wall surrounding the yard. It led the way into the living room filled with old worn furniture, but the dining room had a new mission-style oak table and chairs. A big window overlooked the pool. Cleve made Cape Cod cocktails in black plastic tumblers. After a quick tour of the 7 pastel-colored rooms with its low white ceilings, I unpacked the celery green into the celery green guest room. I changed into an orange Speedo, a scary move at my age and girth. You got fat, Cleve said flatly. Fat and old. I look nothing like I used to. My ballroom days are over. But you look really good, I said, poking his belly. Good and fat. Not as old as fat as you, Cleve said, and I felt the tension loosen up between us. On the patio, the temperature was 110 degrees. My feet burned when they touched the sandstone. Get in the water, girl, or you'll die, Cleve said, hosing down the hot pavement, which turned a deep pink. I dove in head first. It was heaven. Cleve jumped in and made a big splash deliberately. We climbed on matching turquoise pool rafts, drifting in the scorching sun, and sipped our vodka cranberry cocktails. You know, you really hurt me in New York, Cleve began abruptly. Small talk was over. Time to discuss matters seriously, intimately, completely. But I forgive you. I recognized the tone, the Cleve tone, that indicated he didn't completely forgive me. You wrecked the pharmacy, he continued. You used me, and then when I got sick, you ditched me, and I was very hurt by that. It was a stinging scold. I thought about challenging his accusation and defending myself, but I suddenly changed my mind and I said simply, I'm sorry for the way I treated you. It wasn't fair. My apology hung in the air. You called me a megalomaniac to a reporter when my book came out, and that was very mean. Cleve wagged his finger at me. And you, of all people, saying such a thing, that's the pot calling the kettle black. I tried to lighten the mood. It was meant as a compliment, one peer to another. I took a sip of my drink, bracing for his reply. Should I go on?
Yeah, I think we would all like to know what happens next.
It's 2 more pages. I tried to lighten the mood. It was meant as a compliment, one peer to another. I took a sip of my drink, bracing for his reply. It wasn't funny. He gave me the evil eye of disapproval. The comment in print had made him angrier than our clash of egos in New York. I'm sorry you took it the wrong way. Well, now I forgive you, Cleve said with full authority. This time I could tell he meant it. The edict welcomed back the banished. And just like that, we were friends again. Reconciliation. The sun disappeared behind the mountain, a long lavender shadow cooled the still water reflecting the sky. We dried off with the blue beach towels I had brought as a gift. We gave each other updates on old friends and gossiped about them. In the kitchen, Cleve was all business, slicing and dicing, making a special sauce from red peppers. We talked politics as I thumbed through his music collection. He had a lot of CDs, but also old LPs and their original album jackets. He waved me away and put on some African disco drum record. We started dancing. I met Nelson Mandela, he bragged. Eyes sparkling, talking about running into the great man in a hallway in South Africa. It was the most amazing thing ever. Better than Clinton, I teased. Oh, Billy Hillary, that was something. Cleve flashed a mischievous smile. I think he's got a big one. Really? He is tall, but Mandela? Better than a Liz Taylor? Way better. Impossible, I scoffed. As the tribal music ended, I asked if he had any Rolling Stones. No Rolling Stones and no Barbra Streisand ever, Cleve declared proudly. It's the 21st century. He put on YouTube. We continued to talk of our current political situation now that Bush had the White House. Clinton fucked it up with a stupid blowjob, he said. Yeah, but we're here. It's the end of democracy. We have to fight back. We can't just leave. I felt like Cleve was convincing himself more than me. We talked about living as expatriates in another country or whether to stay and fight back. I suggested, half joking, taking up guns. Love power, Cleve insisted, playfully strangling me. You're so negative. We danced to Marvin Gaye's LP, What's Going On. Do everything you can, Cleve said, and remember, it was all my idea. There was truth in there somewhere. I did owe Cleve a great deal. Cleve set the table with tropical placemats, matching cloth napkins, 2 china plates, 2 wine glasses, and nice silverware. Candles were lit. Brazilian jazz music set the mood. We had Caesar salad and broiled salmon. I had seconds. You like it in New York? He asked when we cleared the dishes. Everyone says you're a superstar there. I chuckled. I'm nobody, but New York rocks. Someone said you have a boyfriend. I thought about Richard Ferrara and how to define that relationship. Boyfriend, no, but I love him. So no sex? Cleve arched his eyebrow, adding, I get laid all the time. You always get laid, I said. What about you, boyfriend? Cleve shrugged his shoulders, saying, lots of sex, though. I don't think I'll ever get married, I said. Marriage, Cleve said. That'll be the day. We're too crazy. We're scary monsters. Cleve had a way of showing genuine sympathy with a glint of truth's dagger. The dishwasher kicked in, and we sat on the patio and smoked. The stars came out. After we relaxed into familiar, comfortable silence, Cleve suddenly said, "I want you to come over more and hang out. I really miss you. You're my best and oldest friend." He got up, pulled me to my feet, and hugged me, his eyes glistening. He kissed me quickly like a long-lost brother. "We're the last survivors. We have to stick together."